Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And happy you all are here today. Glad you all could join us. And it's gonna be a good time. And as always, I've got with me my fellow council members, Fiona Wolf, Classic Comics, and Mountains Elysium. And we're waiting to see if the great Zod writer will be joining us, and hopefully he will. And Zod, if you catch this, we miss you, man. Hope you're doing well. But today we are just going to be discussing the episode "A Day in the Strife." Nice little wordplay there. And to everyone in the chat, Lewis X Sparrow, Excelsior's Dominion, and Bureau 31. Good afternoon. Good to see you all, or good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. So, my fellow council members, how are we all doing?
What is sleep? I don't know what sleep is.
What is sleep? Sleep is that thing where you go lay in a thing called a bed and you close your eyes and you go subconscious for a while. That is what sleep is. Although if you are in, much like with many people in this series, particularly Dr. Franklin, you are missing sleep. And you're using something else to substitute for rest, and it's not a good thing. And of course, we will get to that all in due course. But yeah, this is a real fun episode, and it's
Sheridan.
There's a lot here to unpack. I've done my little deals, so I open the floor. Where do y'all want to begin?
Poor Sheridan. He was trying so hard to get out of that meeting. So very hard. But the bomb didn't even cooperate. And this is a different bomb.
Yes. And I want to ask you all a question. Looking at the design of that bomb, does that look like Drock technology to y'all? Or is it just me?
Kinda. I mean, because it also looked like it had a organic component to it.
Yeah, it kind of had that look about it.
Or it could have even been Vorlon, because just like Lita said in Third Space, there was a whole lot of mistakes left out there in space. So many.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem like Vorlon tech. I could be entirely wrong. There might be something in some little grimoire or online page or whatever that says, "Oh yeah, it is Drock technology," and I'll be like, "Okay, cool," or "No, you're completely wrong, Ambassador." So I'm like, "Crap." And the immortal words of Ivanova: "No boom today, boom tomorrow, eventually, someday, boom." But yeah, we've got the bomb subplot, we've got the whole labor union subplot thingy, we've got Jakar possibly leaving Babylon 5. We've got Veer definitely leaving Babylon 5, at least for a little while, going to Minbar. And got all sorts of stuff. We got all sorts of moving parts in this episode. So which string do you want to pull on first, folks?
I guess maybe the Jakar story.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, we got Counselor Nafar. Is it just me, or have you ever felt slimy looking at a Narn? I mean, yeah, Jakar did some kind of shady things in the first couple of seasons, but he got better.
Well, because I guess in the context of things, Nafar is more like he was going along to get along and then plant the knife in people's backs. But Jakar is more upfront with, like, I want to combat this injustice. Nafar's like, no, I want to be a snake that'll strike later on. We have to lull them into a false sense of security. But if that means, like, he's more likely to sell out some of his own people to keep up appearances.
He almost reminds me of Louis from Casablanca.
I got a Marshall Petan.
Does anybody get that reference? Please, somebody get that reference besides me.
I haven't seen Casablanca in around 15 years. I'm trying to remember him.
Played by Claude Rains.
He's the inspector, right?
The inspector.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Although I felt the inspector was a better, kinder character, even though he did say, what is it in Casablanca? my heart is my least vulnerable place for pointing the pistol. So
I need to rewatch that movie now. I might do that later tonight.
yes, I think when it comes, I think you're right that this character Nafar, he is, like Londo says, he's not given up on Narn independence, but he wants it with him in charge. So I wonder how much of getting rid of Jakar did he have a hand in it? Even though the Centauri did want him gone, he may have put his name forward. I'll get rid of him for the good of our people.
Yeah. He's kind of playing the Judas character here. So, well, and, again, Jakar is being challenged for leadership. What else is new? Seems like every other week that somebody's coming around. Hey, Jakar, I want to knock you off your chair, and he's like, "Come at me, bro." And every week, every time, he stays on that chair.
Put your face in the book of Jakar.
Yes.
There you go.
I think you mean the book of Jaquan.
No. Later on, when
Jakar,
it becomes when it becomes the book of Jakar as he's writing it while he's imprisoned. But no, it's just like he is always challenged, even on his spiritual growth, even later on.
Yes.
Oh, certainly you could trust another Narn. Put your face in the book of Jakar.
Yes.
Okie dokie. I
I
guess I missed that one. Go ahead, Elysium.
That's season 5, I think. When he's sitting in, he's leading them in spiritual retreat, and he says, "But what is God?" And he says, "Put your face in the book. Don't you trust me?" And then he just slammed the book on the guy's head.
And when did you read that part of the book of Jakar? Oh, the beginning? I was very angry then. So he's always been challenged on stuff throughout the whole series is what I'm getting at.
So
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
did like that. Not long ago, Jakar, the people, the other Narn in the station, wanted him gone. Now they're willing to sacrifice themselves and their family to keep him as their leader. So he really has turned things around. And I think a lot of that comes from his cooperation with Sheridan and the others, learning that it can't be just about himself. He has to learn cooperation and give and take, and he can gain so much more. It's how he got Garibaldi helping him with the weapons smuggling.
Mm-hmm.
And getting the message from the homeworld. So he won his people by being a proper leader that I don't think Nafar would have gotten. He would have gotten crumbs. Though he did bring Talon, pretty much my favorite Narn.
Yeah, and Talon was like, I had to follow him just so I could thank Sheridan again for helping me out.
Yeah, and I actually like this. I like the character of Talon quite a bit, and I like the actor who portrayed him. It's just a shame we didn't get more of him. I mean, yeah, we got him at the end of season 5 when they were replacing everybody and whatnot. But I would have liked to have seen more of him. He seemed like a very intriguing character. I would have liked to have seen how his story arc would have gone as well.
I thought they were setting him up for a bigger role at the time, the way they placed him. I thought he was going to kind of become Jakar's, aide or lieutenant or something like that. But I don't know, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I honestly, I would have loved to seen that too, especially with the departure of Nataf.
Right.
I think possibly budget, but also I wonder, was he meant eventually like Corwin, that he'd have been in the background, and when was it Crusade came around, the second half, that he would have become a much bigger character, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah, because the way season 5 ended, they set Veer up as the ambassador of Babylon 5, and Talon took up Jakar's position there as ambassador. And from what I remember of Crusade's commentary, yeah, they wanted to involve other characters from Babylon 5 just out of the station situation. So we probably would have seen more of him with Crusade had it been able to keep going.
Yeah. And Excelsior, go ahead, Classic.
If you're going to say it too, but yeah, that was Marshall Teague playing Talon.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was the Akara and War Machine and Infection back in season 1. So, Yeah, you know the thing that I really appreciated was the kind of the resolution of that story arc with Jakar, where they're like, "You cannot leave. We need you to stay here." And he's trying to get frustrated because other Nards keep stopping him, and then Talon's there with the whole group of them, and he draws his sword, the Jatok, or what I think it's pronounced. And he's like, "You can't sheathe that unless it draws blood." And well, he just gets his hand open, draws blood, and then sheathes it.
Well, that and Talon's like, be fair, Citizen Jakar. You have a sword in your mind, in your heart. To me, I'm already outnumbered. So that was pretty good.
In strength of arms, I am outnumbered 2-1.
Yeah, it's a nice line.
It is a very good line. Of course, just a testament to good writing. So, of course, you know, it's just another cog in the wheel that is Jakar's story arc, and he almost leaves but doesn't. And I'm glad that we still get more time with him, and that he will continue to play a part in the Narn War for Independence, but he'll remain on Babylon 5 at least for a little while longer. He will. But kind of transitioning, we've got the whole issue with Franklin and Garibaldi, of course, and we're just starting to see the spiral widen or descend further down for Stephen with the whole Sim situation. And I did appreciate that scene between him and Garibaldi's quarters, them having dinner. And can I just say, it looks like Jerry Doyle was a pretty good cook. Or at least whoever did the cooking was a pretty good cook.
I'm pretty sure he didn't cook it.
Who knows? But any thoughts on that particular plot line, guys?
I mean, it shows that Garibaldi definitely knows there's something up with Franklin, but doesn't want to strain it to the point where Franklin won't listen to him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see that a lot of the other characters are really beginning to notice, it's like, what the heck is going on with you? But it's important that Garibaldi notices first because he's already battling his own addictions too. So,
yeah, very true. Well, and the other part of that plot line that I really liked was when they're there in Earhart's, and Garibaldi and Ivanov are talking, and they're discussing Sheridan's record and what they think of him so far, and it's almost like it's a little wink and a nod to the audience. Like, well, at first he was just trying to fit in and get his feet underneath him. Now he's trying to make this place more like what he's accustomed to, and it was almost like it was a way. It was like an undeliberate fourth wall break, saying Sheridan's got his bearings under him now. Now he's going to make Babylon 5 what it should be. And I think what Ivanova said was very true. We need a warrior more right now than we do a diplomat. So any thoughts on any of that stuff, guys and gal?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why the show honestly kind of improved when Boxleitner came on. I think he fills that role better than oh, good Lord.
Michael O'Hare.
Michael O'Hare on better than he did. O'Hare was better at the diplomatic stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, because his character, the way it was built, his character wasn't completely brute force. He was more finesse, and Boxleitner's character was built to be a little bit more like in your face, direct action.
I can't imagine Sinclair walking up to the guy, pulling the crowbar off him and handing him a gun. He would have tried to talk him down. Where Sheridan is much more, yeah, I got this. You're not back. You're going to back down from me. Which I love that scene at the start where you got those guys to back down.
Yeah, the whole labor dispute issue with bringing supplies and weapons and material in, and then that one guy, the blowhard, is like, "You're so tough up there," and Sheridan's like, "You got the gun? Do something." and the guy just completely folds. And yeah, guys, I have to agree here. The fact that Sheridan is so much more forceful, and okay, I'll say this. This is a great example of show then tell. Doing both, not just doing one. You tell the audience, yeah, he's tough at doing X, Y, and Z, and then you show him being good at X, Y, and Z. So, but there was crap. I'm trying to think. There was one other piece of dialogue, and oh yeah, it was from Garibaldi when he's talking about Sheridan's military expertise, where he can take a smaller, inferior force and turn it into a better offensive force that can give another opposing force a run for its money. And I think we'll honestly see that play out as the series goes forward with Sheridan. So, any thoughts on that?
Well, I do remember the one line that Talon said to him when they were meeting. It's like, here's a man that'll live to be 150. And I'm like, looking at it now, it's like, aw, I really wish that was true, Talon. I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's a definite military, more of a military guy, especially in terms of tactics, because he even saw that, most of the humans didn't even score much of a win during the Earth Minbari War, yet he manages to KO their flagship with his ship half crippled. So,
and going forward, you see him, he's beaten the Minbari, he beats the Centauri, he beats the Shadows, he beats the Drak, he beats the Vorlons. He really is, like they said, he can take a small force and really make a mess.
He is, I would say, he is the rock upon which everyone else breaks. Think about it. Everybody that's gone up against him broke in one way or another. I mean, yeah, he got the... Say it one more time, Elysium?
I was saying even Kosh. He managed to turn a Vorlons who are aloof, and he managed to get to Kosh. I think he was, like you're saying, I fully agree with you. Everyone has broken against him.
Well, and I'll pop Excelsior's, yes, the Sheridan nuke addiction. Hey, but it works. And Vienna. The third space aliens know that well, yeah. When in doubt, use a nuke. It works.
And he was able to hide them so effectively. It cost him a White Star, and then I think they even disguised some of that stuff even within third space. I'd have to watch the movie again, but it was still pretty funny. It's like hidden nuke, kaboom.
Yes. And like the Roman thing, if the first nuke doesn't work, get a bigger nuke.
Or multiple nukes. It's like, Jakar, where did all those nukes go? He put them in the White Star, I think. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I do want to comment on Excelsior's. He's like, I think Kosh got to him ultimately. Yeah, Excelsior. I think there was quite a bit of more interplay between Kosh and Sheridan than what we got to see. And again, I say, I wish we had gotten more scenes with Kosh and Sheridan. Honestly, Kosh teaching him how to fight legends. I mean, Sheridan kind of got the Ray treatment. Sorry, I hate to bring that up, but I did. Well, but again, I think he did pretty darn good considering he was able to walk into Zaha Doom, and well, he didn't necessarily walk out unscathed, but he did walk out.
I think part of the reason why some stuff was probably dropped or obfuscated a bit because their whole entire original runtime on UPN and things like that, at least here in the States, it was like hanging on by their fingertips the whole time. They didn't even know if they'd get renewed for another season.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's true too. Well, it just goes to show you, Babylon 5 was the little engine that could, and ultimately did. If seasons 4 and 5 got truncated, what we could have gotten. What we could have gotten.
Well, yeah,
Damn.
that's the reason why part 5, or at least season 5, feels like it's like kind of like Frankenstein's monster, because they didn't realize that they'd get to come back after season 4. So that's why they shoved all they could into season 4.
Yeah, that's true. And it's unfortunate. But, yeah, it just... I think one of the great things about this particular episode is it very much revolves around... Okay, I want to touch on one other thing before I kind of go off on a tangent. Veer and not Jakar, Londo's plotline.
Londo.
Yeah. So,
You can
what'd
see
y'all
how
think
much
about...
Veer. Sorry.
No, go ahead,
Sorry,
Lysium. You're fine. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was saying, imagine how far Veer has come, where he's standing up to Londo, and Londo can see in Veer someone that maybe we see in a later episode where Delenn says, I need to step back to leave Sheridan to become who he needs to be. And I think on the dark side of the coin, Londo sees the same in Veer. If he keeps Veer around, he'll either corrupt Veer, or Veer's conscience will prevent him from doing what he feels needs to be done. Because he did treat Nafar like absolute dirt, gloating over executions, over how Narn has been ground down. And I think Londo, that's why he went to Delenn and said, look, I need you to take Veer out of here. For his sake, for mine. Leaving the bit unsaid, I've things to do that will destroy Veer or destroy me.
Yeah, I think it shows that Londo, again, he kind of sees a lot of Veer in him, but also I think that he has a bit of a conscience, because he knows that Veer doesn't like being involved in the things he's involved in, and it is a step up for Veer career-wise. So he's trying to do right by Veer in his own way.
Well, and it goes to show that while Londo does have his sinister side to him, which we very much see in his interactions with Nafar, he has that polar opposite side to his character, where he does genuinely care about Veer, and he's very fond of him. He says as much to Delenn in their conversation in the episode, and I get the sentiment that Londo is trying to get across to Veer, that he doesn't want to see their people go through another Narn uprising in 100 years. I don't agree with it, but I understand from a pragmatist point of view what Londo is trying to tell Veer, but at the same time, I have to more empathize with what Veer is saying. He's like, we have broken them. Their world is devastated. Their government is in ruins. Their military is shattered. Their people are in work camps or labor gangs or being executed. What more do you feel we have to do? And Londo's like, you don't understand. You weren't there the first time we had the first Narn uprising. You don't get what we had to go through that first time round, and I don't want to see our people have to go through it again. And the only way Londo sees that he can resolve the situation is to get Veer out of the way. But of course, we see that Veer's time amongst the Minbari makes him even more of a headache. But I think it also enriches his character, and obviously for the character itself, it is a good career move for him. And I think Londo wasn't being completely disingenuous, even though Delenn says, okay, you've said all this, I agree, but now the truth.
Yeah, and Delenn sees Veer as a good influence on Londo. So she's like, why is he pushing him away? Big think moment.
I was just thinking, and it just popped into my head that I don't want to spoil, but does anyone think that Londo at this point reminds you of the agent in Serenity, from Firefly. He feels he has to do horrible things for the good of his people. And that could be why he's pushing Veer away too at this moment. He realizes what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah, I guess I can see what you're getting at.
I think Wando's more afraid that Veer might be more right, and that maybe the old guard of the Centauri shouldn't be making the same mistakes.
Yeah, honestly, I think Londo does see what Veer's trying to say. And yeah, Elysium, I did get your reference. I would have to agree. I think he does. There is a parallel between the agent that you're talking about from Firefly and Londo here. He's doing horrible things, but he's doing them for what he perceives as a good reason. But at the same time, he's got, as he says to Delenn, he's got this stone around his neck that's he's having to constantly go and justify what he's doing for the good of the Centauri. But it's the things he's having to do are horrific. So
I think you see that a lot of Londo's is a mask. Deep down, I think Londo's very core, he is a good man or good Centauri. But to do what he needs to do, he needs to be nasty, mean, and do pretty evil things. And the struggle of keeping the mask up. You see when his mask slips and he tells Delenn, look, I care about Fear. That's the real core Londo. And then he goes, blah, he's a blight, a pox. That's the mask going back on again. And with Fear around, he's not going to be able to keep that mask up.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, I'll mention Excelsior's comment here. Londo's is reflective of their old ways. Veer is a different creature, and yeah, he's a picture of a different future for the Centauri, and one where they're going to have to recover from all the horrific things that Londo is compelled. And I use that word very specifically, compelled against his will to do. And we'll discuss why when we come to that point. But that actually is an interesting parallel here, classic from what we discussed earlier today with Londo, and I guess you can draw a parallel between him and Mr. Freeze. Because if you think about it, Londo is a good person who has been driven to do awful things, although he is cognizant of them and has made his peace with them, but at the same time he doesn't want to do them. And with what Victor Freeze goes through when he becomes Mr. Freeze in Batman. What do you think? Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that, because Londo does have a conscience, and he does kind of regret some of the things he does, or at least has misgivings about them. I don't see that with Freeze, particularly in that episode or in the Batman animated series. He doesn't really have any doubts or any hesitation about what he's doing.
Okay. No. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's fair. So, yeah, I'd have to say I think I was in error there, and I'll be the first to admit I was in error. So.
Oh, I do think it's funny that this is what he cashes in on for taking Delenn and Drawl down to Epsilon 3 from that wild ride way back when. Because, you know what, she did promise him, like, okay, if it's within my power, I'll do it. So that's an interesting callback to previous season.
Yeah, and it really is reflective of how the serialized format for Babylon 5, you had little things like that did get callbacks later in the series, which helped add to the believability of the setting. And that was, it's easy to forget now, but that was so unusual at the time, and kind of for American TV kind of revolutionary, and yet that kind of storytelling is kind of the standard thing now.
Well, there were a few series that were before Babylon 5 that did things along those same lines, Star Trek being one of them.
They really weren't doing it much before Babylon 5.
I think maybe TNG a little bit, because you did have some reoccurring plot points or character arcs or anything within the series itself. But yeah, Babylon 5 was kind of the benchmark for serialized science fiction in a lot of ways. So, but the interesting thing is, again, the show had such an impact upon modern sci-fi going forward that it's almost slipped out of the cultural lexicon, but it has grown enough of a fan base, and that fan base has just grown over the years that it's actually stayed right there in like maybe the top 5 or top 10 of people's favorite sci-fi series from last 20 years or so. Any thoughts on that?
I agree. Yeah, I don't think the Babylon 5 really gets the credit that it really deserves for how much impact it had and how much influence it had.
Yeah. Well, and
I just wish more people, just to mention, I wish more people would not only, if you're going to deconstruct something, build it back up again, because that's the main difference in Babylon 5. Some characters are deconstructed to their most base element, but then he builds them back up again depending on their character arc. Lots of modern stuff doesn't do the reconstruction part.
Yeah, and we've hit upon that before. And I'll pop up Excelsior's comment here. I asked JMS about this, and he said that even where he didn't write an episode, he would still cast an eye over it as showrunner and drop in arc elements. That's where consistency came from. Interesting. And thank you for the insight, Excelsior. I appreciate it. I'll pop Lewis's comment here. Trek built on story as they went along, making long-running story arcs, but Babylon 5 sees stories that paid off later. Yeah, Lewis, I would agree with that. And I do want to say to everybody that's in the chat, if you have a presence on Twitter or on social media of any sort, start putting the word out that HBO Max has Babylon 5 now, because I think this is a real opportunity for people who are starving, and I mean that quite literally, that are starving for good science fiction, to be introduced to a series that may not have had as many seasons as other shows did, but has a lot of really excellent material within it. So regardless of what size of a presence you have on social media, start putting the word out to everybody. B5 is alive on HBO Max, and it's going to be eventually, I would wager, getting a Blu-ray release. Oh, and Lewis, okay. So
that would be a good hashtag. B5 is alive.
That would be. Yeah, it's B5 is alive on HBO Max.
I'd honestly recommend getting the DVDs so you can listen to some of the commentaries, because it's pretty good commentary, and it's not even like there's different types of commentaries, from the actor side and the other one from the people who actually built the stories and the visuals and everything. And it's not flooded with a bunch of modern claptrap in terms of like, this is my soapbox. It's just telling you how they built the stuff.
And yeah, Excelsior, I'm not trying to diminish anything that the Expanse has done. I have heard nothing but positive things about Expanse. I would love to watch it at some point. I've just got to have the time to do it. And of course, gotta get access to it, but I know there's multiple ways I can get access to it. So, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why as I've said before, one of the reasons why I started my channel is I wanted to talk about Babylon 5 because I love the show that much. Because it is great science fiction. And, this one episode, it has a lot of plot lines running through it, but it keeps it tight, it keeps it succinct, and it all flows. And we haven't really hit upon the one minor plot point, and that's the bomb, the boom. I mean, we've got all these other little smaller character-based stories, and then of course we've got an external threat. We've got this probe that looks like it came from the Drock, and I'm gonna say I think it was a Drock device. Again, if I'm wrong, okay, fine, I'm wrong. But they've got ticking. Say one more time, Elysium.
Sorry, no, I think I'd agree with you. I was thinking the in my own headcanon, the race in season 5 that were coming like locusts, where Bo and Mac was it a view from the gallery, where this race appeared out of nowhere to attack. Though the tech they had didn't seem up to the probe, so probably not. But in my own head, that was my connection. Until you mentioned the Drac, I hadn't thought of it, and Drac makes much more sense.
And Excelsior, on the plus side, being a modern show, it's not as many episodes a season to have a look. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could essentially binge Babylon 5 in a couple of months' time, give or take.
I think he means The Expanse.
Yep. Oh, The Expanse? Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that.
And it is a good spiritual successor to Babylon 5. It's a lot of the elements from The Expanse would not exist without B5. You can just see it everywhere.
And I would imagine...
to me, it's kind of like what the Babylon 5 setting would have been like before they met the Centauri and discovered jump gates.
I'd say the same. Because you have the conflict Mars and Earth, and the belt is occupied in the Babylon 5 universe. So it does make perfect sense that this is, like Classic said, what happened before they met the Centauri. And just as I mentioned, quick thing, if someone was saying, why should I watch Babylon 5, the scene with Lando and Shakar in the lift, that's a big plus. Is just look at this. This is great.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, that is an absolutely stellar scene. I mean, I know we discussed it last week, but I would say honestly, I think if there's a standout, if there are like one or two standout scenes in this particular episode, the episode or the scene with
sorry, I think wasn't it?
Yeah, it was last week, but that's okay. No, dude, it's Elysium. It's okay, really. I would say for me the best scene in this particular episode has to be between Nafar and Londo.
Yes,
I do. I have to say that's probably the best. That's one of the best scenes in the episode. And hey, guys, what were maybe some of your? What was one of your favorite scenes, or one of your favorite pieces of dialogue or monologue or whatever from the episode?
I like the fact that Sheridan was basically saying, "I didn't know you wanted a promotion that bad." to poor Ivanova there. It's like, oh my god. And showing her that he pocketed the PPG ammo before he placed it into the guys.
The energy cap, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, wait, what's that? Oh. And I still find it funny that he set the meeting after when the bomb was going to explode. Because if I'm going to die, I don't want to have one more meeting.
Yeah, I can't say I blame him. Classic Elysium, favorite scene or piece of dialogue or what have you?
Me, it was probably that scene with Jakar and was it Talon? Is that what his name is? The guard?
Yes.
Yeah, probably
Talon.
that one.
Okay.
For me, it tied the scene with Talon at the bar with Sheridan, or Talon talking down Jakar, they're about tied with me, because both of them are great scenes.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be the contrarian, sort of. I have to say one of my favorite scenes has to be the one with Garibaldi and Ivanova towards the beginning of the episode, where they're talking about Sheridan, and then Ivanova's like, "You didn't look through my record before I came on board," and he's like, "Oh, that's completely against regulations, and I can't tell you anything." I not only that, it as I mentioned earlier in the as we were discussing this, discussing Sheridan's character paradigm during as the series has gone along with season 2 and now going to season 3. So that for me, I'm a Sheridan fan. Always have been, always will be. I liked Sinclair. Don't misunderstand me. He was a great character, and I'm glad we'll get to have a final goodbye with him here in a few weeks. But for me, Sheridan is amongst my top 5, or well, okay, maybe my top 10 of favorite science fiction characters, because he had no extraordinary powers. He didn't have some fancy smancy training of any kind per se. He was just a guy that was driven, that was smart, that was intelligent, was funny, and insightful, and was imperfect, most importantly. But that imperfection didn't ruin him. So, anyway, but that's just me. So, well, any other thoughts on the episode in there, or before we close out?
I was just thinking that it took them a while to figure out, well, why are they going to give us more technology if they want to kill us if we don't know this level? But then again, they're under so much pressure that that's something that could be overlooked. But still, it kind of felt you should have thought of that. It seemed too good to be true. I mean, you should realize, walking around the Zocalo, if somebody offers you something at a really cheap price, you know there's something up with it.
Yeah. Yeah, as my father-in-law would say, if something is too good to be true, it generally is. And going back and rewatching this, I couldn't help but think that to myself, guys, y'all are very smart. I know y'all are kind of under a little bit of stress right now, but think about this. Is this sound too good to be true? It is? Yeah. Then just let the time elapse. I mean,
that, and then Sheridan kind of reverses it. Well, let's not let this thing pick on other people that are unsuspecting. We're going to make sure it destroys itself.
Exactly. And all they lost was a maintenance bot. No big deal.
That, and poor Franklin, man, he was yelling at that one lady like, "You get him online now, or I'll have your doctorship and everything." We are all like, he was basically to the point where he's like, "We're all gonna die, but this guy's on a freaking vacation."
Yeah, it's always fun watching Franklin sort of fly off the handle. Stephen Big was good at that.
A Franklin rant, great, just beautiful.
I'm looking forward to
Excelsior. I know both those shows very, very well. So yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Elysium. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It was. I was just thinking the Franklin rant I'm looking forward to is the one where he's trapped in the spaceship with Marcus, and he said, "This is a conversation that can only end with a gunshot."
Oh, I see with my the I Spy thing. I see with my eye.
It's beginning with B.
Boxes, even more boxes. Oh
no! Oh Lordy, you bunch of goons.
Yes.
Oh. Well, guys, I think we're gonna go and wrap up here. But hey, another great discussion. And thanks, guys. As always, thank you all for being here. I've really come to enjoy our time together. I really have. And to everybody that's in the chat and everything, thank you all for tuning in today, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. By whatever means that you can do it on whatever platform, make sure you smash that like button and share this out. And if you're on Twitter or if you're on Facebook, when you share this stream out, put the little hashtag Babylon 5 is alive or B5 is alive, whichever way you prefer it. Yeah, and next week, as Bureau 31 brought up, we'll be covering the episode Passing Through Gethsemane. And that will have a nice little guest star appearance by a favorite actor of all of ours, Brad Dourif.
Yes.
Who played, I think, many great roles, although he's kind of I think Brad Dourif's underrated, but we'll get into that when we come to the episode next week. So guys, for those of you that got things coming up, I know Elysium and Classic, you've put your and Wolfiana's, you've all put your links in the channel or in the chat. Words, nice little lady. That's my Jerry.
What is this words? Words. Brain doesn't understand word salad.
Word salad. Have y'all got anything coming up before we close out?
I just keep writing. I'm almost at 300k words. So if anybody wants superheroes and space opera with a little bit more of an optimistic bent, like if they hadn't messed up Mass Effect with those horrific ending.
Yes. Although I hear that Mass Effect might be getting a remaster or something.
All I'm going to say on that is, like, guys, if they had the energy to give Mass Effect 1 a facelift and censor Miranda's butt, they could have added a couple more panels to that ending. Just saying. Mm-hmm. So I would say buy it pre-owned, buy it third hand, but don't give EA money directly.
Yes. I would agree. So. Well, as for me, folks, I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. I'll be doing another review of WandaVision, Episode 5, and I'll have Brian Hill, Master and Nun, Andrew Casale, and there's somebody else that was going to join us. Oh, Sir Nerdalot. So hope y'all will tune in for that. That should be a good discussion. And then starting next week, we're going to be doing a couple of watch parties. And we're going to be doing my director's spotlight at the end of this month. Next week, of course, I'll be back with the review streams on Friday afternoon. I might toss in an extra live stream on another topic, but I'll keep that as a surprise for now. But as far as next week goes, we'll be doing a watch party Saturday night for The Man of Steel. The Zack Snyder film, obviously, because we've got Justice League coming out next month. And then week after, I'll be doing a watch party for Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition. And then, of course, as I mentioned, got the results from my poll, and the people have spoken. So we're going to do a director spotlight on a true icon of the entertainment industry, of the movie industry, Steven Spielberg. So... And that, of course, will probably be at 7 p.m. Central Time as well. So thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you to my panel, to my fellow council members. Guys, it's always a blast to stream with you, and great to have you on board. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see y'all tomorrow night. And until then, these are the ambassadors. Signing off.
I have always been